Cornel West, professor, like civil rights leader, thinker, taught at Yale, Princeton, Harvard. He's a professor of philosophy at Union Theological Seminary, author of many, many books, incredible thinker, incredible, like, I would say, yeah, movement leader, thought leader in a way. He's running for president as an independent, as a third party with what is called the People's Party. The People's Party is an organization, is a party, I guess, started in 2016 after Bernie Sanders lost the primary, and it was started by one of Sanders's staffers, I believe, named Nick Brana. I'm not sure if he was a staffer or if he was just working with the campaign. Since then, they've done a lot of things that are, to be honest with you, a fuck ton of mudslinging at other leftists. So they do, there is a lot of like, force the vote stuff. Why don't we have Medicare for all? You're not left enough. A little bit of dabbling in some, anti-shutdown COVID weird stuff. They've been very close and tight with people like Jimmy Dore, who, again, if you're listening to this show, you know me and my history with Jimmy Dore, and also how he's just like a walking POS, how he has courted the right more and more and more until the point where he basically just has a far right audience now for anything he does. But, Cornel West is also, he has got the endorsement of people like Medea Benjamin of Code Pink, again, Code Pink has been an anti-war organization for many, many, many years, did a lot of great work in the run-up to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. I think Medea Benjamin has done a lot of great work. I'm not so sure about her lately in terms of sort of like political sensibilities. And the last thing I'll say is that the People's Party has also cast a lot of aspersions on basically what they think is like a war in Ukraine that should just stop, that the United States could just end, and it should just end. And by end, I think we kind of, and everyone should understand this, it means Ukraine no longer exists and Ukraine just surrenders to Putin and Russia's aggression. And again, I think we've talked about on this show, we talked about it a few weeks ago, that it's not a great position for the left to hold, that we don't defend people's sovereignty. We don't defend nations' sovereignty, no matter if and the enemy of our enemy is not necessarily our friend, right? And yet we have to sort of learn this lesson again and again. Sorry, that's a long preamble to give you a little bit, Nelini, and everybody, of his campaign announcement. Here we go. Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech.
Neo-fascists like Brother Trump, or milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, well, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean?
Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see.
Yes, we shall see. And if you're just listening and not seeing, the last two little clips were from, and he put this in his campaign video. The first is with Bill Maher, where he equates milquetoast neoliberals with fascists, and I just have questions about that. And then secondly, a little clip from an interview with Joe Rogan. So kind of making them like so not even so left, but like anti-establishment slash kind of like crypto right-winger rounds is what I see in a Rogan Maher combo there. And that's sad for someone like Cornel West. But Nelini, please weigh in.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think the thing for me, I have to obviously say, like, look, I remember the first time I read Race Matters, and I remember when I was at Occupy Wall Street and Cornel West was one of the first kind of figures to visit us in the park. And I was 24 years old, and I was like, Cornel, ran over to him, was so excited to take a photo and all of that stuff. So I respect the legacy that he brings, the intellect that he has brought to a lot of things, and also like nobody is above critique. Yeah. And the thing for me is like thinking about the stakes of this election, right? Like Joe Biden's like 2020 margin in Wisconsin was only 20,000 votes. Right? Like in 2016, Trump's margin, I think, was 80,000. And, you know, around that, just across the country. And I feel, and so when I think
not enough.
When I think about that, and when I think about the platform that he's running with, that only has ballot status in 3 states.
Yeah.
And this is a 50 state election, right? I would even say it's like there's 50 elections, 50 plus 1, right? Like not actual, like, and there are different laws in different states. As an organization, you know, Working Families Party, we've actually had to get ballot status in some states, and it's real hard. And I'm not saying it's unimaginable, but with a year and a half out to the election, with so much at stake. And when I think about, you know, a large-scale organizing campaign, when I think about resources, because presidential campaigns seek resources, I think about where could we be spending resources on taking out congressional corporate Democrats and making sure we're taking out the Republicans like a George Santos and folks who have been actually awful to our quest for just changing things that we can actually change.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, like the Ukraine stuff, as somebody, this is like really personal. Like I spent last year near the border of Ukraine. I have a lot of comrades in Romania and Poland that I train, and they were like thankful that we had Biden as the president because of the way he moved. And I'm saying leftists on the ground, progressives, folks who have actually organized, who actually have to deal with this stuff on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And so I do not take lightly the let's talk about the truth about Ukraine that he says in his video as well, because I actually have people and folks at stake who have been taking up arms and who've been in the trenches. And so for me, yeah, that's where I think it just, you know, all the volunteer hours, all of the could go to other things. Now, I also believe in democracy. So if people want to run, they have every right to. Yeah. And people want to support, they have every right to as well. But for, excuse me, for me, yes, when I saw the announcement, it was a little bit of a side eye. I was just shocked that both with a People's Party and an institution that hasn't been able, in my opinion, to organize effectively except for, you know, tweet about how bad some of us on the left are. Like, I want to see you have actual organizing chops and to be actually to move a base, because it does take a coalition to win, a mass coalition to win the presidency of the United States.
Right. I think that's incredibly well said. And it's important coming from someone who does work with a third party and who can run candidates and will not, you know, I think what I like about the Working Families Party is that it's not about vanity projects, right? And I think we've seen, you know, in the Green Party and Jill Stein explicitly, that a lot of times when running for president feels like a vanity project, and it feels like I'm just going to plant a random flag in the sand and say, if you don't meet this barometer for what I deem to be leftism, then you're not truly progressive. And to say nothing of how important saying that during an election where we could be reelecting Donald Trump, I think is incredibly dangerous and scary. And I say that with so much respect for someone like Cornel West. I think it is sad that he was sort of recruited to do this. That speech that he gave, he's such an incredible speaker. He could have done that in the show. Like, he could have just spun that off. But, you know, And I think it is, I totally agree with you that why not focus on a one particular campaign, whether it's mayor, governor, like something you could run yourself. Or I think Dr. Cornel West has been incredible at actually supporting some of the candidates that he does believe in, right? And the causes that he does believe in. You know, and you see, it's just, you know, I have a lot of thoughts, and I think it's important to know, like, just like the Green Party, not really seriously running in all 50 states. Are you seriously running in all 50 states other than online? Is it an online campaign, or is it not, or is it an on the ground kind of campaign? And that's someone I'm saying I want to break the two-party duopoly.
I can't wait to Millie Rock on the graves of the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yes.
Like, as institutions, I can't wait to Millie Rock on that. And also, like, I also live in, we are living also in strange times where you have this, like, you know, abortion clearly backlashed on the right wing, and now they're doubling down on, you know, there are people who are trying to leave Florida, like leave these states where they've built their homes and their lives because they do not feel safe walking down the street. People are shooting folks just coming up to their door. Like, it is. And for folks who are out there who are like, well, you know, in other countries it's worse. And I'm like, look, I go to Hungary every year. I know what dictatorship looks like and authoritarian looks like. And you don't want to get it to that point. You don't. We're not used to that. You're not used to actually your vote absolutely not counting. Unless, you know, you are a black person.
Well, and it reminds me of it is a very nihilistic, blow it all up. Same thing with who cares about Donald Trump? He could get elected. You know, that kind of framework. It's very much also a GOP ideology. Let's be real. This is flirting with when the GOP says, who cares if we default on the debt? It's like, yeah, because you've only lived in the effing first world. Like, you've only lived in the hegemonic, the like economic hegemon. You have no idea what it's like to live in a country where, like, your inflation rate means whether you live or die, because it's absolutely insane, or like you're defaulting on your debts, and there's all this stuff happening above you, you know, whatever. Like, you're so lucky. Anyway, I have a lot more to say about the People's Party. I'm curious about where they get their funding. I'm gonna be real. I've done some, you know, news broke. We did a little bit of digging around who funds a lot of like third party secessionist movements around the world in democracies, and it's Russia. Russia funds them. That's who funds a lot of these movements. I'm not saying that that's who funds this movement, but I'm not saying that. And also, Jill Stein was chilling with Michael Flynn and Vladimir Putin a few months before her supposed election. But anyway,
those are little details, right?
Just small little details. Whatever. She got the invite. Russia Today, baby. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.